Hello, miladies of inestimable value. The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. Gloria Steinem. Society loves to romanticize the nice girl, the sweet, agreeable, always smiling woman who wouldn't hurt a fly, even if that fly was ruining her entire life. But here's a brutal fact. Nice girls rarely get what they truly want. Studies show that people who are too agreeable often earn less, get overlooked, and are more prone to burnout. Meanwhile, Sigma females, they rewrite the script. These women are not here to play the nice girl role. They don't fake smiles, sugarcoat the truth, or shrink themselves to make others comfortable. They know that in a world where being too nice often translates to being taken advantage of, the real power lies in being unapologetically authentic. And trust me, that authenticity isn't always wrapped in a polite little bow. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear might just make you rethink everything you've been told about how women should behave. Number 1. They don't confuse being polite with being a doormat. A Sigma female understands that being polite and being a doormat are two entirely different things. She has manners, she treats people with respect, and she knows how to carry herself with grace. But the moment someone mistakes her politeness for weakness, they're in for a rude awakening. People love to test boundaries. They'll push to see how much they can get away with, especially with women who are naturally composed and soft-spoken. A nice girl might smile through discomfort, nod along to things she disagrees with, or bite her tongue just to avoid conflict. But a Sigma female, she doesn't play that game. The second she senses someone trying to manipulate her, undermine her, or take advantage of her kindness, the dynamic shifts. She will shut it down so quickly and effortlessly that the other person won't even realize how fast the ground just shifted beneath them. She's the kind of woman who will let someone talk, let them dig their own hole, and then, with a single sentence, flip the entire situation in her favor. She doesn't need to be aggressive. She doesn't need to raise her voice. Her presence alone is enough to make people think twice before trying to cross her. And the funny part, the ones who get put in their place always act surprised, as if they assumed she'd just sit there and take it. That's where they go wrong. A Sigma female knows that being polite is about self-control, not submission. She chooses her words carefully, but she never waters down the truth. She'll say thank you and please out of courtesy. But the second someone mistakes her for an easy target, all bets are off. She doesn't entertain disrespect, she doesn't entertain entitlement, and she definitely doesn't entertain people who think they can take advantage of her just because she carries herself with class. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that just because she's polite, she's also passive. That assumption has left many people stunned, confused, and scrambling to backtrack once they realize she's 10 steps ahead. A Sigma female isn't here to make enemies, but she's also not here to be anyone's pushover. She'll keep things classy, but if necessary, she'll remind people, without raising her voice or breaking a sweat, that she is not someone to be underestimated. Number 2. They refuse to be the default emotional dumping ground. A Sigma female has no interest in being the free on-call therapist for people who refuse to help themselves. She knows the pattern all too well. Someone comes to her with a problem, vents for hours, gets sympathy, maybe even some solid advice, and then does absolutely nothing to change their situation, rinse and repeat. She doesn't have the patience for that. She understands that life can be hard, and she's more than capable of offering support to those who genuinely need it. But the difference? She only invests emotionally in people who are willing to take accountability for their own lives. She won't sit there nodding endlessly while someone cycles through the same self-inflicted problems just to avoid facing the truth. If a person is looking for someone to enable their bad choices or validate their excuses, they're knocking on the wrong door. People assume she's cold because she doesn't drop everything to absorb their negativity. But that's the thing. She values her peace too much to let others use her as a human sponge for their emotional mess. She's not going to let someone hijack her time, energy, or mental space just because they don't want to deal with their own baggage. She sees right through the ones who aren't looking for solutions, but just want a comfortable space to complain. And she's not offering that service. The most frustrating part? The same people who get offended by her boundaries are the ones who expect her to be endlessly available. They'll call her selfish, distant, or unfeeling simply because she refuses to be their emotional crutch. But she knows better. She knows that constantly absorbing negativity without any balance will drain a person dry, and she refuses to let that happen. She'll be there for the people who matter, the ones who are genuinely struggling but willing to grow. But if someone just wants a sounding board for their repeated mistakes without any intention of changing, she's already checked out. It's not cruelty, it's self-respect. Number 3, they're not interested in pleasing people who don't matter. A Sigma female has zero interest in bending over backward to impress people who hold no real value in her life. She's not wired to seek validation from every passing stranger, nor does she lose sleep over someone's disapproval. If she doesn't respect you, your opinion simply does not exist in her world. It's not arrogance, it's efficiency. She refuses to waste energy catering to people who wouldn't lift a finger for her in return. Nice girls often exhaust themselves trying to be liked by everyone, afraid that even the slightest disapproval means they're doing something wrong. A Sigma female? She understands that no matter how good, kind, or accomplished she is, someone, somewhere, will always have something negative to say. And she refuses to let that dictate how she lives. She walks through life with the confidence of someone who knows that most opinions are just noise, irrelevant, fleeting, and often based on nothing real. She's selective about whose voices she values. If she admires you, respects your intelligence, and sees you as someone of depth, then yes, your words might hold weight. But if you're just another person with an opinion based on assumptions, insecurities, or plain ignorance, she will not even blink in your direction. She doesn't waste time trying to prove herself to people who wouldn't understand her even if she did. People often misinterpret this as her being cold or indifferent. The truth? She just has no patience for unnecessary emotional labor. She's not going to change who she is to make someone else comfortable, nor is she going to shrink herself to fit into someone's narrow expectations. If you don't like her, that's a personal problem, not hers. What makes this even more frustrating for others is that she doesn't argue about it. She doesn't go on long rants defending herself, explaining her choices, or trying to win anyone over. She simply exists, unapologetically. And that, in itself, is enough to drive the wrong people crazy. Number 4, they don't entertain weak, passive-aggressive behavior. A Sigma female has no patience for mind games, backhanded comments, or people who disguise manipulation as innocent behavior. She sees through it all in an instant. If someone tries to guilt-trip her, fish for sympathy, or play the helpless victim to get what they want, she's already 3 steps ahead. And trust me, she's not about to entertain that nonsense. She's the kind of woman who values directness. If there's an issue, say it. If you need something, ask. But if someone chooses to dance around the truth, throwing out subtle jabs or acting wounded to avoid taking responsibility, they won't get the reaction they're looking for. A nice girl might feel pressured to reassure, comfort, or give in to keep the peace. A Sigma female, she either calls it out on the spot or walks away without a second thought. Either way, she's not playing along. The problem with passive-aggressive people is that they rely on subtlety and emotional manipulation to get what they want. They want you to feel guilty, obligated, or uncertain without them ever having to say anything outright. It's a weak, indirect way of controlling others. But it doesn't work on a Sigma female because she recognizes the game and refuses to participate. The moment she senses someone trying to test her patience with childish tactics, she mentally checks out. This throws manipulators off completely because they thrive on reactions. They expect emotional engagement, whether it's guilt, frustration, or the need to prove something. But a Sigma female gives them nothing. No sympathy, no debate, no energy. Just silence, or a sharp, straightforward response that shuts everything down in seconds. The ones who rely on passive aggressiveness quickly realize they have no power over her. People who operate this way either adjust their behavior around her or disappear from her life entirely. And honestly, either outcome is fine with her. She has no interest in playing emotional babysitter for people who can't communicate like adults. She keeps her circle full of people who are honest, self-aware, and direct, because that's the only kind of energy she's willing to engage with. Number 5. They challenge instead of complimenting just to fit in. A Sigma female has no interest in empty compliments or shallow agreements just to blend in. If she challenges you, it's not to be difficult. It's because she actually thinks for herself. She doesn't sugarcoat reality, and she's not going to nod along just to make someone feel comfortable. She pushes people to think, to question, to see beyond surface-level ideas, and that's exactly why she makes certain people uncomfortable. Nice girls often default to agreeability, worried that any form of disagreement will create conflict or make them less likable. A Sigma female doesn't care about that. She respects people enough to tell them the truth, even if it stings. She'll question flawed logic, call out weak arguments, and challenge the way someone sees the world, not out of arrogance, but because she values real conversations over mindless small talk. If your ideas can't hold up under scrutiny, that's not her problem. This throws people off because they're used to others playing along. They expect social validation, not intellectual pushback. But with a Sigma female, there are no automatic agreements, no empty flattery, and definitely no fake smiles just to keep the peace. If she doesn't believe in something, she won't pretend she does. If your opinion lacks depth, she won't fake admiration. If you're wrong, she's not going to let it slide just to spare your feelings. She speaks up, and that alone makes her stand out. Some people love her for it. They respect her straightforwardness, appreciate the mental challenge, and find her presence refreshing in a world where most are too afraid to rock the boat. Others, they take it personally. They mistake her honesty for rudeness, her debates for arguments, and her lack of blind praise for a lack of warmth. The truth is, she simply refuses to be another echo in the room. She's not here to stroke egos or play into fragile self-images. She's here to have real discussions, push boundaries, and force people to see things differently. And if that makes some uncomfortable, well, that's just proof she's doing it right. Number 6. They don't do fake empathy for social points. A Sigma female has no interest in putting on a performance just to appear kind-hearted. Unlike those who play the empathy card for social validation, she doesn't manufacture concern to gain approval. If she supports someone, it's because she genuinely cares, not because she wants people to see her as a good person. And if she doesn't feel a connection to a situation, she won't force herself to react in a way that looks socially acceptable. This makes her stand out in a world where so many people fake compassion just to fit in. Some will post about every tragedy online to seem caring, but in reality, they don't actually do anything to help. Others will nod along to someone's problems, pretending to be emotionally invested, when deep down they couldn't care less. A Sigma female doesn't play that game. If she offers empathy, she means it. If she doesn't feel it, she won't pretend. There's no exaggerated sympathy, no performative sadness, and no over-the-top reactions just to signal that she's a good person. People who rely on fake empathy to boost their image often find her presence unsettling. They expect her to engage in the same empty displays, but she refuses. She sees through those who make everything about themselves, those who hijack serious conversations to showcase their deep emotions while doing nothing of actual substance. The difference between a Sigma female and the crowd is that when she does care, she acts. She doesn't just say the right things. She actually shows up, helps, and invests real energy into the people who matter. She values authenticity over optics. If a situation doesn't affect her, she won't force herself to have an opinion just to sound socially aware. If she doesn't resonate with someone's struggles, she won't pretend to feel what she doesn't. And while some might call that cold, it's actually the most honest way to live. Her emotions aren't for public display or social points. They're real, intentional, and reserved for people and causes that truly matter to her. Number 7. They don't soften the truth to make others feel better. A Sigma female has no interest in dressing up the truth just to make it easier to swallow. While nice girls tiptoe around harsh realities to avoid hurting feelings, she believes that real honesty is the highest form of respect. If someone is making self-destructive choices, ruining their own life, or stuck in a cycle of bad decisions, she's not going to sit there nodding and smiling to make them feel better. She'll tell them exactly what they need to hear, whether they're ready for it or not. This doesn't mean she's cruel or intentionally harsh. It means she refuses to lie just to keep people comfortable. Sugarcoating things might spare someone's ego in the short term, but it does nothing to help them grow. And if there's one thing a Sigma female doesn't do, it's enable weakness. If someone asks for advice but really just wants validation, they're in for a rude awakening. She's not the type to pat you on the back while you keep making the same mistakes. If your relationship is toxic, she'll say so. If you're sabotaging yourself, she'll call it out. If you're expecting sympathy for a mess you created, don't hold your breath. This kind of brutal honesty unsettles people who are used to being coddled. They expect the usual soft responses, the vague encouragements, the careful wording designed to protect their feelings. But a Sigma female doesn't do that. She won't package the truth in bubble wrap just to avoid an emotional meltdown. She'll say it plainly, without unnecessary softness, because she values reality over illusions. And the people who truly respect her, they know that while her words might sting, they come from a place of sincerity. Weak people see her as intimidating, rude, or even heartless. Strong people recognize her as rare. She's the one who won't waste time with half-truths or pointless flattery. She'll push you to see things clearly, to stop making excuses, and to actually improve. And if you can't handle that, well, that's not her problem. The truth doesn't change just because someone isn't ready to hear it. Number 8. They don't overextend themselves for undeserving people. A Sigma female knows that her time, energy, and effort are valuable, and she's not about to waste them on people who don't deserve them. Unlike the nice girl who bends over backward for everyone, even those who never lift a finger in return, she has a strict policy. If the effort isn't mutual, she's out. She understands that constantly saying yes to people who wouldn't do the same for her is a guaranteed way to drain herself dry, and she refuses to live in a state of exhaustion just to maintain a reputation of being nice. This doesn't mean she's selfish or unwilling to help. It means she's selective. If someone has proven they're worth her energy, she'll show up, no questions asked. But if someone expects her to be their personal problem solver while giving nothing in return, that's where she draws the line. She's not a charity for emotional freeloaders. She's not going to be the one always making the plans, always offering support, or always fixing other people's messes while they sit back and take advantage of her generosity. Overextending herself for the wrong people isn't just exhausting. It breeds resentment. And a Sigma female has no interest in feeling bitter about relationships she willingly overinvested in. She'd rather have a small circle of people who genuinely care than a long list of one-sided connections that leave her drained. She's not impressed by grand words or empty promises. She watches actions. If someone shows up for her, she'll show up for them. If they don't, they'll quickly realize that access to her effort isn't guaranteed, it's earned. Some people mistake her boundaries for coldness, but she sees it differently. She's protecting her peace, making sure her energy goes where it's truly appreciated. And the people who matter, they don't just understand that, they respect it, because at the end of the day, a Sigma female isn't trying to be liked by everyone. She's making sure she has enough left in the tank for the people who actually deserve her. Number 9. They don't play the helpless woman to win favor. A Sigma female has no interest in pretending to be weak just to make others feel important. While some women play up their helplessness to attract attention, gain sympathy, or manipulate their way into special treatment, she finds the entire concept nauseating. She doesn't need to act clueless to be liked, nor does she see any value in dumbing herself down to stroke someone's ego. If she doesn't know something, she learns. If she's struggling, she figures it out. She doesn't use fragility as a currency because she knows her real power lies in competence, not in playing the damsel. This refusal to feign helplessness unsettles people who are used to women playing along with outdated social scripts. Some men expect her to giggle at their jokes even when they're not funny, to pretend she needs their help even when she doesn't, or to act impressed by things she could easily do herself. But a Sigma female doesn't engage in that performance. If she admires someone, it's genuine. If she asks for help, it's because she truly needs it, not because she wants to be coddled. And if someone is looking for a woman who inflates their sense of importance by acting incapable, they're barking up the wrong tree. This mindset also intimidates certain women who rely on appearing delicate to gain favor. The Sigma female's independence makes their tactics look obvious, and they don't like it. They see her self-sufficiency as a threat, because it challenges the idea that women need to be soft, helpless, or dependent to be valued. But the Sigma female couldn't care less. She's not in competition with anyone, and she's certainly not going to shrink herself to fit someone else's comfort zone. Some call her too much, too intense, or too independent, but she knows the truth. She's just unwilling to fake weakness to be accepted. She'd rather be underestimated and prove people wrong than be babied and expected to stay small. At the end of the day, a Sigma female is exactly who she appears to be: strong, capable, and completely uninterested in playing dumb for approval. Number 10. They don't hand out second chances like candy. A Sigma female knows that second chances aren't a right. They're a privilege. While nice girls might convince themselves that everyone deserves another shot, she doesn't buy into that fantasy. She operates on a simple principle. If someone disrespects her boundaries, betrays her trust, or takes her for granted, they don't get an automatic reset. Forgiveness isn't some unlimited resource she hands out just to keep the peace. If someone wants a second chance, they'd better be prepared to earn it. She's not the type to be manipulated by empty apologies or grand gestures meant to smooth things over without real accountability. She pays attention to patterns, not promises. If someone has already shown her who they are, she believes them the first time. She doesn't need to keep getting burned to understand that some people only say sorry to regain access, not because they actually regret what they did. And the moment she senses someone is playing the same old game, she's done. No warnings, no drawn-out discussions, just complete disengagement. Some people mistake this for coldness, but she sees it as self-respect. She refuses to let people walk in and out of her life like a revolving door, expecting her to clean up the mess and act like nothing happened. She's not interested in hearing excuses, guilt trips, or sob stories meant to make her feel obligated to forgive. She doesn't owe anyone unlimited patience, and she definitely doesn't owe them repeated chances to hurt her. This level of decisiveness makes some people uncomfortable. They expect her to be more understanding, to be more flexible with those who claim they didn't mean any harm. But she sees through that nonsense. If someone genuinely values her, they won't put themselves in a position where they need a second chance in the first place. And if they do, they'll put in the effort to prove they deserve one rather than expecting her to hand it over for free. A Sigma female isn't heartless. She's just done wasting time on people who mistake her kindness for weakness. Once she's closed the door, it stays shut. And the ones who took her for granted? They learn the hard way that not everyone plays by the forgive and forget rule. A Sigma female is not here to be liked. She's here to be real. She refuses to water herself down to fit the mold of a nice girl because she knows that playing small serves no one, least of all herself. Where others seek validation, she seeks truth. Where others tolerate nonsense to keep the peace, she cuts through the noise with unshakable clarity. She doesn't entertain weak energy, fake connections, or expectations designed to keep her predictable and manageable. She moves through life on her own terms, fully aware that her presence will challenge, intimidate, and sometimes even upset people, and she's perfectly fine with that. The world is full of those who pretend, perform, and play along just to be accepted. The Sigma female, she refuses. She is proof that a woman doesn't have to be nice to be respected, liked, or even loved. She doesn't chase approval, and yet she commands admiration. She doesn't seek validation, yet she naturally earns the respect of those who matter. She doesn't bend herself to fit expectations. She breaks them and sets new standards. Her strength is not in how well she follows the script, but in how fearlessly she rewrites it. And that is exactly why she stands apart. If this hit home for you, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. And if you're all about content that challenges the norm and speaks the brutal truth, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next.